Once, this land echoed with the sound of machines. Steel clanged. Sparks danced in the air. Men carved empires from iron and fire, their lives tethered to the rhythm of progress. Under the towering shadows of smokestacks, the world believed this would last forever. But nothing lasts forever. Time came like a quiet storm, and the giants fell silent. The machines stopped. The echoes faded. What remained were skeletons of an age that had burned too brightly. Rusted beams, broken windows, floors that once trembled under the weight of industry now left to gather dust. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button because it's a simple way to show your love for these incredible designs. For years, these places stood as monuments of loss. Forgotten, abandoned, until someone looked closer and saw something more. Not ruins, but possibility. Because within those weathered bricks, there were stories. Within those steel bones, there was strength. And in the spaces where men once labored, life was ready to begin again. They call it the Post-Industrial Barndominium. But this is more than a name. It's a conversation between past and present. A home where raw steel meets soft light. Where walls that once knew only noise now hold silence and laughter. It's history reborn, shaped not by machines, but by imagination. What happens when you take the grit of yesterday and weave it with the warmth of today? When you let iron beams frame not assembly lines, but family dinners. When a factory floor becomes the heart of a home. This is not nostalgia. It's transformation. A space that honors where we've been and dares to dream of where we're going. And maybe that's why, when you walk inside one of these homes, you feel something deeper. Because you're not just stepping into a design. You're stepping into a story that refuses to die. It started as survival, not style, not trend, just survival. When the factories closed their doors and the barns stood empty, the people who lived near them were left with more than memories. They were left with bones of steel and wood, waiting for purpose. These were places that once breathed life into cities and towns. They were loud, alive, pulsing with energy. Then, almost overnight, they fell silent. Rust began to creep in. Roofs sagged. Floors cracked. And in that silence, for most, all they saw was ruin. We share new content regularly to help you create spaces you love, so don't forget to subscribe. But some saw more. To them, these weren't broken spaces. They were canvases. They saw beauty in the imperfections, strength in the scars. They saw a way to honor the past while creating something entirely new. This wasn't about tearing down. It was about lifting up, about giving old bones a second life. And that's how the Post-Industrial Barndominium was born, not out of luxury, but out of necessity. Steel that once framed machines now framed kitchens. Concrete floors that carried the weight of industry became the foundation for family memories. Those towering windows that once watched over assembly lines now poured sunlight into quiet living rooms. If you found this video inspiring, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your support means to me, and it helps keep the design ideas coming your way. There's a story of a family in the Midwest. They stood inside an old warehouse, walls streaked with decades of grease, floors echoing with emptiness. Most would have walked away, but they stayed. They imagined laughter where there was only silence, warmth where there was only cold. They didn't erase the past, they embraced it. And slowly, beam by beam, brick by brick, that forgotten space became their home. This is what makes the origin of these homes so powerful. They're not just structures, they're stories of resilience. Of people who refused to let history rot away, who believed beauty could rise from what was broken. And they were right. Steel, cold, heavy, eternal. Once built to endure storms of industry, now it stands softened by sunlight, warmed by the sound of laughter. Brick, scorched by time, carrying scars of heat and history, now cradles the hum of quiet mornings and coffee cups resting on wooden tables. These are not just materials. They are memories, holding on, even as they are transformed. This is the soul of post-industrial design, raw authenticity. It doesn't hide its past. It doesn't polish away the imperfections. It celebrates them. Exposed beams stretch like the bones of a giant, weathered metal catching the light like silver veins. Concrete floors, once walked by workers in boots, now softened with rugs, layered with warmth, kissed by bare feet. It's a dance of contrasts, strength and softness, grit and grace. The permanence of steel against the tenderness of fabric. The coolness of stone paired with the glow of reclaimed wood. It's a design language that doesn't whisper luxury, it whispers truth. And then there's light. The old factories were built for work, not warmth. Their windows were wide, but their purpose was functional. Now, those same windows have become something else entirely, gateways for the sun. Natural light spills in like liquid gold, flooding the once dark spaces, turning silence into sanctuary. It's the new luxury, not chandeliers or marble, but sunlight. Honest, pure, endless. But here's the question. Can a home born from a factory floor ever feel human? Can walls that once echoed with machinery ever learn the sound of laughter? The answer is in the details. The gentle curve of a wooden chair against a wall of steel. The way plants breathe life into a room where machines once stood. The way history and hope meet and decide to stay together. This is not designed for the eye alone. This is designed for the soul. If you love this type of look, hit that subscribe button to help us create more videos. And let us know in the comments what you'd love to see in future videos. Every morning, sunlight spills across concrete floors, the same ground where machines once stood proud. Where sparks once flew, now lies the quiet hum of a kettle, the soft shuffle of bare feet. The walls. They don't just hold memories. They hold conversations between what was and what is. Inside a post-industrial barndominium, you don't just live in a house. You live in a story that whispers to you when the light hits the steel beams just right. A story that lingers in the uneven brick, in the tiny imperfections that no architect could ever recreate. Because these walls have seen things. They have endured storms, heard the roar of machines, felt the heat of fires long gone. And now, they hold laughter. Take the couple who traded glass condos for this old warehouse. At first, it was just an empty shell, a place others saw as too cold, too harsh. But they imagined warmth where others saw steel. Today, their mornings begin with light pouring through those massive factory windows, painting their reclaimed wood table in gold. They sip coffee where once men forged steel with sweat and fire. And in that contrast, between the grit of industry and the grace of home, they find something deeply human. Homes like this don't just give shelter. They give permanence. In a world obsessed with speed and newness, these spaces remind us that beauty can last, that strength can soften, that history isn't something to erase, it's something to live inside of. And that's the truth of these homes. They are not cold. They are alive. Because when life returns to a place that was once forgotten, it doesn't just fill the space. It transforms it. It turns silence into music, steel into sanctuary, and somehow, a piece of the past becomes your present. It would be easy to think these homes are just about nostalgia, a longing for the past. But that's only half the story. Because behind every weathered beam, behind every brick carrying the weight of history, there's something far more surprising: innovation. Step inside one of these spaces, and you'll find technology woven like a hidden thread. Smart systems humming quietly in the background. Climate control tucked neatly behind century-old walls. Lighting that shifts with the mood, concealed within reclaimed timber. It's a home that feels ancient and eternal, yet listens when you speak, responds when you need it, learns how you live. The shell may belong to yesterday, but the soul belongs to tomorrow. And then there's the quiet revolution of sustainability. Every reclaimed beam saves a tree. Every brick reused is a whisper of responsibility, a promise that beauty doesn't have to cost the earth. These homes prove that luxury doesn't mean excess. It means intention. It means choosing to breathe new life into what already exists, rather than feeding the hunger for what's disposable. But here's the question. Why are the world's boldest architects turning back to the ruins of yesterday for the homes of tomorrow? Perhaps because these places remind us of something we've forgotten. That progress doesn't always mean starting over. Sometimes it means looking back, holding on to what matters, and carrying it forward into the future. That is the modern twist. A design that feels timeless, but is quietly pulsing with the intelligence of a new age. A place where your walls can hear your voice, yet still smell faintly of iron and sawdust. Where your home isn't just smart, it's soulful. And maybe that's the point. The future isn't all glass towers and digital screens. Sometimes, the future is found in the past, reborn, reimagined, and ready to live again. And here's the truth, the twist in this story. Because sometimes the future isn't in glass towers reaching for the clouds. It isn't in steel so polished it forgets its own strength. No, the future hides in steel bones weathered by time, in walls that carry scars, in spaces that refuse to die. These homes are proof that progress isn't about erasing the past. It's about rewriting it, taking what was broken and making it whole again. It's about listening, really listening, to the echoes of history and letting them shape the rhythm of tomorrow. Think about it. These places were never meant to be beautiful. They were built for function, for survival, for work. Yet here they stand, reborn into sanctuaries of warmth and light. Places where families gather around fires, where laughter dances in the same air that once trembled with machines. Isn't that something? That a home can hold both grit and grace, both the memory of toil and the comfort of love? And maybe, just maybe, that's what makes them extraordinary. Not because they are perfect, but because they are honest. They remind us that beauty isn't always new. Sometimes beauty is old. Sometimes beauty is what remains when everything else has fallen away. So if this story stirred something in you, don't let it fade. Stay with us. Explore more homes that turn history into hope. Homes that speak, not just to the eye, but to the soul. Because there is a world of design out there that is more than walls and roofs. It's poetry you can live inside. Subscribe, join the journey,